So what's the elephant in the room? What's percolating inside of all of us that we don't really talk about? What are we all pretending not to know? I think we have a lot of challenges in life, and I think one of the biggest challenges all of us have is this thing called connection. This isn't something we talk about at cocktail parties or fraternity parties. It's because many of us don't want to go deep enough to talk about things like this. So what do? We get really busy on our iPhones. We get addicted to social media, maybe food, maybe alcohol. But we don't really want to talk about this thing that's burning deep inside of us, this thing called connection. In fact, one of the best definitions I've ever heard of the word addiction is from a good friend of mine in Phoenix by the name of Joe Polish. Joe was an alcoholic, cocaine addict, and survived being a heroin addict. He's a world-renowned speaker in this area, and he says, and I agree with him, the opposite of addiction is connection. It's what we all long for more than anything in life. A deeper connection with ourselves, with other people, and to a power higher and greater than ourselves. But that's the elephant in the room that most of us don't want to talk about. Now, I once read a book called Networking is a Contact Sport. In fact, I wrote the book, Networking is a Contact Sport. And the book is about networking, but then again, it's deeper than that. It's really about connection. How do we connect deeper and more meaningful with others? I use the term networking, and quite honestly, I hate networking. I don't like it. I don't like what it represents. Because most of us think, when we think of networking, an alpha male at a cocktail party chasing you down with his business card, right? In fact, by the end of this talk, you'll learn that networking is the complete opposite of that. And I really think the number one success tool in business and in life is this thing called relationships. And the quality of our lives, the quality of our businesses are based on the quality of our relationships. And those relationships are based on how effectively we network and connect with others. And I think if you look at all these TED Talks, and I've watched hundreds of them, by far I think the best TED Talk is the TED Talk on the Harvard study, a 75-year-old study on happiness. And the conclusion of that TED Talk is that good relationships keep us healthier, happier, and we live longer, period. But this isn't something that we want to talk about. It's the elephant in the room. And I think the secret of great networking and great connecting is the complete opposite of what we think. Great networking and connection is really a place we go to give and serve and not get. Perhaps the greatest networker and connector in my lifetime has been Mother Teresa, the consummate giver. And I think probably the biggest takers in the corporate world were probably the people from Enron. They just named Mother Teresa a saint, and I think some of the Enron people are still in prison. So if you want to be a great connector and a great networker, realize it's not about you. It's about how do we serve others. And so a lot of these talks, people give philosophies, and I always like saying, tell me how to do it. How do you do this? Who are the best networkers and connectors, and what do they do? What are their traits? What are their habits? And I think if you really want to be a great connector or a great networker, number one, figure out what makes people tick. Why do people do what they do in life? My number one passion my entire life has been human behavior. I'm infatuated with people's behavior and what they do. Why is it that some people can win back-to-back-to-back NFL MVPs, Brett Favre? Why is it some people can go through this torturous training of becoming a Navy SEAL? And why is it some people can't get out of bed in the morning? What are the traits, what are the tools that they use? I'll never forget my father. We had 10 kids. I'm the 9th boy in our family. Boy, if there was ever any reason for an adult to spend tens of thousands of dollars in therapy, try to be the number ninth son. I'm the number 9 son. But I'll never forget, my dad died of lung cancer. While he was in treatment, we came out of the hospital, and in a wheelchair was a woman on oxygen, dying of emphysema, smoking a cigarette. I remember how angry I got on this, but I really didn't understand her behavior. And the more I thought about it, her behavior made perfect sense. She found more pleasure from this drug called nicotine than the pain she was experiencing from dying of emphysema. So great networkers really understand what makes people tick. And when I think about the woman dying of emphysema, I really think that I understand why she was doing that. So to be a great connector, try to understand that all human behavior makes sense, even when we don't. And great networkers and connectors understand human needs. And we all have hundreds of needs. Maslow talked about 5 basic needs, but I think there are really 3 basic needs we all need. And great connectors and networkers understand that. We all need to belong to something bigger than ourselves. We need to love and be loved. And we need to know that our life has meaning and significance. I think the number 1 need to belong to something bigger than ourselves. And I think today this is more important than ever, because with all the technology, I think we're connected and we belong to groups. I would argue we're more isolated now than ever. I could technically get up every morning in my home, in my underwear, I know that's a scary thought, and do my work and think I'm connected with people. I'm not connected with people. In Milwaukee, Wisconsin, there is a motorcycle company called Harley-Davidson. And if you look at Harley-Davidson, there's probably not a better company in the world that understands the need to belong better than Harley-Davidson. When you buy a Harley-Davidson motorcycle, you become part of this family. If you've ever gone to a hog rally, the Harley ownership group, it's like a family. You really belong to something bigger than yourself. And if you look at this whole belonging, some of the greatest TV shows were about belonging. Remember the old TV show Cheers? I'll say the term and you finish it. You want to go where? Where everyone knows your name. What's that about? That's about belonging. But I want to say something about belonging. There's a difference between belonging and trying to fit in. I think many of us, and I'm guilty as anyone, I've tried to fit in a lot in my life. And belonging is different than fitting in. Belonging is you have people who care about you and love you for who you are. Fitting in is basically if you subscribe to the philosophy of our tribe, we will let you fit in. So try to figure out how we belong to something bigger than ourselves. We all need to feel love and be loved. And I think the company that understood that better than any company was Coca-Cola. There was an ad, the most famous Coca-Cola ad, and they're bringing it back today, is the I want to teach the world to sing. Do you remember that ad? It was like a kumbaya moment on top of the mountain where these people were holding hands. And Coke wanted you to believe that if you drank Coca-Cola, you would feel this love. It has nothing to do with Coca-Cola. Coca-Cola rots your teeth and rots your stomach. But here's what Coca-Cola understood, the Maya Angelou quote. People will forget what you say. People will forget what you do. People will never forget the way you make them feel. I think that's brilliant. Ma'am, what's your name? Emma. Emma. Could I ask you a question? Emma, do you remember the last time you were wowed? Yeah. You do? You're sitting by a good-looking guy. Did he do that? Sure. Do you remember how great that made you feel? Yeah. So I'm going to ask Emma a question, but I'm asking everybody. Emma, if you remember the last time you were wowed and how great that made you feel, why wouldn't you get up and wow somebody every day? The greatest networkers, the greatest connectors know how to do that. And so how do you create a wow factor? Tell me how to do that. You have to create what I call a PEC, a personal emotional connection. Find something personal about someone and then do something memorable. It's a way that you can instantly connect with people. Now, I have a ritual, I've done this for decades. I go to the bank every month and I get a wad of $2 bills. Why? Because when you give someone a $2 bill, it kind of wows them. Most people don't think they're made anymore. But if you give someone a $2 bill, they'll kind of go, wow. So I want to do something for all of you here tonight. If all of you right now would look under your chair, look under it, go underneath, you all have a $2 bill under your chair. You got it? Hold it up. All right. Okay, so here's your homework assignment. To help you to begin a process of connecting, I want you to give this $2 bill away to someone. Give it to a homeless person. Go buy a cup of coffee for somebody and watch their reaction. Okay, I want to ask someone here. Did anybody get in the audience something besides a $2 bill? Hold on, stand up. No, stand up. What was it under yours? $100 bill. Okay. If you want to impress someone, give them a 2. If you really want to impress them, give them 100. No, the reason I did this is I want all of you to experience it. Do you all get a little wow when someone gives you a $2 bill? So listen, you don't have to give someone a $2 bill or a $100 bill. If you want to create a personal emotional connection, again, find something personal and do something memorable. We all need to know that our life has meaning and we've made a difference. The best ad on that I've ever seen is the MasterCard. Remember that? Fishing poles, $28. Worms, $3.25. An afternoon fishing with your teenagers, priceless. Exactly. So as you go through this process of connecting, think about these 3 needs and how you can answer them for other people. And when you talk about networking and connection, there's a process in this. And it's a very simple process. In fact, I'm almost embarrassed to talk about it. It's asking, listening, acting, and then believing and receiving. But to me, it's sort of like losing weight. Losing weight's really simple. You just exercise more and you eat less. But it's really hard to do. And same with networking and connecting. So when you ask, I think you've got to ask. Remember, networking's a place we go to give and serve and not get. You've got to ask with a mindset of giving. You've got to ask persistently, creatively. You've got to ask outside the box. And most importantly, I think you've got to figure out how to make asking fun. And if you can learn how to make asking fun, you'll never work another day in your life. And then listen. Most people think connectors and networkers are great talkers. In fact, they're incredible listeners. They'll ask good questions and they'll sit back and listen and take it in, but they ask great questions. What are the 3 common questions we all ask? And they're terrible. Emma, I'm going to do it with you. Emma, how you doing? Good. Emma, you busy? Yeah, oh yeah. Hey, Emma, what's new? Not too much. I don't know anything about Emma. So after Emma and I break the ice, I think a great question to ask is, Emma, what are you most excited about in your life? And you can see Emma light up, and she can talk to you about things that really resonate with her, and that's how you build this connection. And so the third thing is, a lot of us ask and listen, but we don't take action. The greatest book written on taking action and overcoming excuses is a book written by Wayne Dyer called Excuses Be Gone. When Wayne wrote the book, he sent out a survey, give me your number 1 reason why you don't take action. And he got 5,000 responses back. And you can see up here, he documented the top 18. I love this. I don't know about you, but in the last 12 months of my life, I did every single one of these. I used as an excuse. The reason I highlighted number 17, I'm too busy. It's the number 1 excuse we all use for not connecting and networking with people. I'm just too busy. If you do this effectively, you're networking all the time and connecting all the time. And so we've got asking, listening, acting, and then if you create a mindset that when you help others, you'll get far more in return than you ever give, you realize this philosophy really works. The other thing I want to talk to you about is, and I asked the question, who's your wingman or wingwoman? As we go through life, great networkers and connectors all create their own inner circle, their own personal board of directors. The term comes from military. You've got a lead pilot, and you've got a wingman or wingwoman to watch your back. Well, many times life and business is like war, and it's many times the silent bullet that comes that you never see or hear that'll kill you. And great wingmen and wingwomen will watch your back and let you know where the bullet is, when the bullet's coming, warn you, and if it's too late, they'll jump in front and take a bullet for you. And in business, there's something called the 80-20 rule in business. It's where 80% of your business comes from 20% of your customers. I have a little different take on that. The reason you need wingmen and wingwomen in your life is 80% of the people out there don't care about your problems, and the other 20% are damn glad you got them. So you need someone in your inner circle to watch your back at all times. So I want to end with this. What is the real purpose of this networking, connecting? What's the real purpose of relationships? Have any of you ever been on the deathbed of a parent or grandparent or a loved one? What do they want to talk about? They want to talk about two things. The special moments in time that they've shared with loved ones. Because at the end of your life, that's all you've got. You've got the loved ones, your loved ones, and those special moments in time that you shared with them. That's why this is so important. Human relationships magnify the human experience. So I'm going to give you a little test tonight. I'd like you to do the rocking chair test before you fall asleep tonight. I'd like you to pretend you're 95 years old. You're in the nursing home, sitting in your Depends, reflecting on your life. And I want you to ask yourself the question this: what would your life look like if it really turned out great? That's really a hard question. What would your life look like if it really turned out great? Go from that spot to where you are today, and then figure out who you're going to spend time with and what type of relationships you're going to build for your remaining years. And I think at the end of our lives, we're going to have an exam. It's a one-question exam. It's not a take-home. It's not a do-over. And the one question we're all going to be asked is this: did we give more to life than what we took? And I hope and pray that if you understand networking, business, and connections are more about giving than taking, that we'll all pass our final exam. Thank you very much.